The year was 2287, and humanity had finally reached beyond their home planet. Small colonies existed on Mars and a few moons in the outer solar system. Earth's defense fleet watched the stars carefully, always wondering if something dangerous lurked in the darkness between worlds. Admiral Richard Cole stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Station Sentinel, a massive structure orbiting beyond the moon. He had commanded this station for 3 years, and every day was the same. His crew monitored signals from deep space looking for anything unusual. Most days brought nothing but cosmic noise and distant radiation from dying stars. Commander Lisa Grant walked up to him with a tablet in her hand. She looked worried. Admiral Lieutenant Kevin Barnes found something strange. A signal from deep space. It's artificial. Richard felt his heart beat faster. Where is it coming from? The Kepler 442 system, about 1,200 light-years away. The signal is weak and broken, but it's definitely not natural. Richard immediately called for his communications officer. Patricia Wells arrived within minutes, her eyes red from lack of sleep. She had been working on the signal for 3 days straight, trying to decode it. "What do we have, Patricia?" Richard asked. Patricia pulled up the data on the main screen. "Sir, it's a distress call. The translation software finally cracked it an hour ago. It's from a species called the Villani. Their planet is under attack." The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen as Patricia played the decoded message. A voice spoke in halting, desperate tones. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "We are the Villani. Our world dies. A force called the Kresh Dominion has invaded our system. We are peaceful people. We have no weapons of war. We build, we explore. We study the universe. But the Kresh only destroy. They burn our cities. They take our people to camps. Our children cry in the darkness. We send this message to anyone who might hear. Please, if anyone receives this, please help us. We are dying." The message ended with coordinates and a final plea. "Please, someone, anyone." Richard felt something cold settle in his chest. Humanity had wondered for centuries if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew. And the first contact was a cry for help from a dying civilization. He immediately contacted Earth. Captain Daniel Price, humanity's representative to the United Earth Council, needed to hear this message. Within hours, the council chamber on Earth filled with representatives from every nation and colony. The debate was fierce. Counselor Helen Morris stood and argued against involvement. "We don't know anything about this conflict. What if it's a trap? What if we make enemies we can't defeat? We must protect Earth first." But Counselor Jeffrey Stone disagreed. "If we ignore this, what does that make us? These people are dying." They called for help. And what happens when this Kresh Dominion runs out of peaceful species to conquer? How long before they find Earth? Dr. Andrew Chen, Earth's top scientist, revealed shocking news. His team had been secretly developing a new type of engine. The Horizon engine used quantum field technology to travel faster than light. With this engine, ships could reach the Kepler 442 system in just 3 months instead of thousands of years. General Scott Harris presented a plan. Earth would send a fleet of 30 warships equipped with these new engines. They would investigate the situation. If the Villani truly needed help, humanity would provide it. President Karen White made the final decision. Her voice was steady as she addressed the council. "We will not hide while innocents suffer. We will answer this call. Prepare the fleet." The construction yards above Earth exploded with activity. Workers labored day and night installing the experimental Horizon engines on 30 warships. Each ship carried humanity's most advanced weapons. Railguns that could fire metal projectiles at incredible speeds, plasma cannons powered by fusion reactors, nuclear missiles with devastating power. Commander Jake Sullivan received command of the flagship, the EDS Vengeance. He was a veteran of the Mars Independence conflict, known for his tactical skill and determination. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Commander Amy Pierce, managed the ship's weapon systems. Chief Engineer Gregory Hall supervised the installation of the Horizon engine. The technology was new and dangerous. One mistake could tear the ship apart. But the mission required speed, and speed required risk. Navigation Officer Nicole Foster plotted the course to Kepler 442. The route passed through areas of space where gravity behaved strangely. One wrong calculation could send them off course by light years. Dr. Amanda Ross briefed the crew on what little they knew about the Kresh Dominion. Based on the Villani message, the Kresh were aggressive and ruthless. They conquered worlds and enslaved entire populations. They showed no mercy. Before departure, Commander Sullivan stood before his crew. 300 men and women looked back at him, their faces showing both fear and determination. "We're heading into the unknown," Sullivan said. His voice carried through the ship's speakers. "We're going to face an enemy that has destroyed entire civilizations. Some of us might not come home, but we carry something precious with us. Hope. The Villani hope someone will answer their call. We're that answer. We're humanity's promise that evil doesn't go unopposed." The fleet activated their horizon engine simultaneously. Space twisted around the vessels as they punched through reality into a strange realm where physics worked differently. The journey that should have taken millennia would take only months. During the voyage, the crew trained constantly. Combat drills filled the days. Lieutenant Ryan Carter ran weapons practice until every crew member could operate the railguns perfectly. Medical Officer Dr. Laura Bennett prepared the medical bay for casualties. Communication with Earth became impossible once they entered deep space. The fleet was alone, traveling through a dimension where normal rules didn't apply. Commander Pierce monitored the other ships, making sure they stayed together in the distorted space. 2 months into the journey, the fleet received another transmission from the Villani system. This message was shorter and more desperate. The Kresh were launching their final assault. Villani resistance was collapsing. Within days, their entire civilization would be extinct. Commander Sullivan made a dangerous decision. He ordered Chief Hall to push the engines beyond their safety limits. Hall protested, warning that the engines could explode. Sullivan overrode him. They would arrive in time, no matter the risk. The Vengeance shook violently as the engines screamed with extra power. Other ships in the fleet did the same. They raced through the quantum dimension, pushing technology to its breaking point. Finally, after 3 months of travel, the fleet prepared to drop back into normal space. Commander Sullivan sat in his command chair, knowing that in moments they would see the Villani homeworld. They would see if they arrived in time. "All ships, prepare for deceleration," he ordered. "Weapon systems online. Battle stations." The fleet dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. Immediately alarms blared. Sensors detected massive energy readings near the 4th planet. Tactical Officer Carl Dixon's voice was tight with shock. "Sir, I'm reading over 200 warships in orbit around the Villani planet. They're bombarding the surface." The main screen showed the Villani world. Continents were scarred with impact craters. Oceans boiled from orbital strikes. Cities burned. The few remaining Villani defense platforms fired desperately at the enemy fleet, but their weapons barely scratched the Kresh armor. Sullivan watched in silence as an entire civilization died before his eyes. The Kresh ships were huge, heavily armored and bristling with weapons. They outnumbered the human fleet 7-1. Lieutenant Commander Pierce pulled up tactical data. "Sir, the Kresh vessels are larger than our ships. They have superior numbers, but their technology looks conventional. No energy shields, no exotic weapons." Sullivan opened a channel to the entire fleet. Every ship heard his voice. Every human crew member listened as their commander spoke. "I know what you're seeing. I know the odds. But remember why we came? An innocent species called for help across 1,200 light-years of empty space. And we answered. Today, the Kresh Dominion learns that humanity doesn't abandon the helpless. Today, they learn what happens when you wake up Earth's wrath." He paused, letting his words sink in. Then he gave the order that would change galactic history. "All ships charge weapons. Target the Kresh fleet. Prepare to engage." Lieutenant Carter's fingers moved across his console, locking targets. "Weapons hot, sir. Ready to fire on your command." Sullivan's voice was cold and hard. "Fire!" The darkness of space erupted with light as humanity announced its arrival to the galaxy. The first salvo tore through space faster than anything the Kresh had ever encountered. 20 Kresh warships exploded in brilliant flashes of light before their crews even knew they were under attack. The railguns fired metal rods at 15% of light speed, and the Kresh armor crumpled like paper. The remaining Kresh fleet reacted with confusion. Their sensors showed the human ships, but the readings made no sense. The vessels were small. There were only 30 of them. Yet somehow 20 Kresh warships were already destroyed. Commander Sullivan didn't give them time to think. He split the fleet into 3 groups. Captain Roger Blake led 10 ships to the left flank. Captain Megan Torres took 10 ships straight through the center. Sullivan led the final 10 ships in a high attack from above. The Kresh tried to return fire. Bright energy beams lanced through space toward the human ships. But the beams traveled at light speed, and human computers predicted where the Kresh would aim. The ships simply moved before the beams arrived. Every Kresh shot missed. Human missiles streaked toward the enemy fleet. These weren't the old nuclear weapons from Earth's past. These were fusion warheads with the power to destroy entire city blocks. Dozens of Kresh ships vanished in miniature suns as the missiles found their targets. Captain Torres found her ship surrounded by 15 Kresh vessels. They tried to trap her with overlapping fire. Instead of retreating, she ordered her ship to charge straight at the nearest enemy dreadnought. The Edie's Defiance roared forward, plasma cannons blazing at point-blank range. The superheated plasma melted through Kresh armor like a blowtorch through ice. Her ship shook as enemy fire struck the hull. Alarms screamed. "Hull breach on deck 4, someone shouted. Casualties in Section 7. Torres ignored the damage reports. Keep firing. All weapons, the battle raged for 6 brutal hours. The Kresh tried to use their superior numbers to overwhelm individual human ships, but humanity fought with a ferocity the Kresh had never seen. Every human vessel moved with precision, working together like parts of a single organism. Commander Sullivan identified the Kresh command ship in the center of their formation. It was massive, easily 3 times the size of the Vengeance. That ship coordinated the entire enemy fleet, destroy it, and the Kresh would lose their organization. All ships concentrate fire on the command vessel. Sullivan ordered. Hit it with everything we have. Every railgun in the human fleet targeted the Kresh flagship. Metal projectiles, each weighing several tons and moving at incredible speeds, hammered into the enemy dreadnought. The first dozen shots were absorbed by the thick armor. The 20th shot punched through. The 30th reached the reactor core. The Kresh flagship exploded with the force of a star-going supernova. The shockwave destroyed 6 nearby Kresh ships and damaged dozens more. The enemy fleet wavered, losing cohesion without their command ship. Captain Jonathan Reed saw the opening. He broadcast a message on all frequencies. His words were translated by captured Kresh communication systems so the enemy could understand. You came to conquer the defenseless. Now you face warriors who fight back. Run now and live. Stay and die. Choose. Half the Kresh fleet tried to retreat. They turned their ships and fled toward the edge of the system. The other half, either too proud or too committed, kept fighting. Those ships died over the next 2 hours. The human fleet showed no mercy. Every Kresh vessel that remained was systematically destroyed. When the orbital battle ended, Sullivan turned his attention to the planet below. Kresh ground forces still occupied Villani cities. Millions of Villani prisoners sat in camps waiting to be transported to Kresh slave worlds. Major Chris Bennett led 300 Marines in powered armor down to the planet's surface. They dropped through the atmosphere like meteors, targeting Kresh command centers and prison camps. The Kresh soldiers on the ground had never faced humans before. They were unprepared for the speed and aggression of the Marine assault. Sergeant Lisa Murphy's squad hit a prison camp outside the Villani capital city. Kresh guards tried to use Villani civilians as hostages. Murphy's response was cold and professional. Her squad's precision fire eliminated every guard without harming a single prisoner. The Villani emerged from their prison slowly, afraid this was another trick. They were humanoid creatures with pale blue skin and large eyes adapted to their dim sun. When they realized they were truly free, many collapsed in tears. Dr. Bennett's medical team set up field hospitals. They treated wounded Villani with the same care they would give to human patients. The Villani stared at their rescuers with wonder and disbelief. Lieutenant Foster established communication with surviving Villani officials. The Villani Premier, an elderly leader named Sorrel, spoke with Commander Sullivan through a video link. Tears ran down Sorrel's blue face as he struggled to find words. You came, Sorrel whispered. We sent our message into the void hoping someone would hear. And you came. Sullivan's response was simple. We heard, we came. That's what humanity does. But Sullivan knew the battle wasn't truly over. The Kresh Dominion would send another fleet. They would want revenge, and eventually, they would learn about Earth. The threat had to be ended permanently. Captain Blake proposed a bold plan. Don't wait for the Kresh to find Earth. Take the fight to them. Captured Kresh databases revealed the location of their main command center. a fortress world called Kresh Prime, 300 light-years away. Sullivan contacted Earth through a quantum relay. Admiral Cole initially hesitated. The mission was supposed to be a rescue operation, not a full-scale war. But General Harris argued that war had already begun the moment the Kresh attacked the Vallani. Better to strike now with the advantage of surprise. President White made the decision. Earth would send reinforcements. 100 more warships would join the original 30. Together, they would deliver a message the Kresh could never ignore. While waiting for reinforcements, the human fleet helped rebuild Vallani infrastructure. Engineers worked alongside grateful Vallani to restore power and water systems. The Vallani offered to share their knowledge of biology and medicine, areas where they excelled. When the reinforcements arrived, the combined fleet of 130 warships set course for Kresh Prime. The journey took 2 months. When they arrived, they found a heavily fortified world ringed with defense platforms and shipyards. Over 500 Kresh warships defended their homeworld. The Kresh were confident. No enemy had ever threatened Kresh Prime. Their fortress world was considered invincible. The human fleet shattered that illusion in a single devastating assault. The battle was even more brutal than the fight at the Vallani world. The Kresh fought with desperate fury, defending their home. They rammed damaged ships into human vessels. They used suicide tactics that shocked even veteran human marines. But humanity's superior technology and tactics prevailed. Human railguns outranged Kresh weapons. Human ships maneuvered faster. Human coordination was flawless. Most importantly, humanity remembered what the Kresh had done to the Vallani, and that memory fueled their determination. Captain Torres led a strike group that destroyed the orbital shipyards. Nuclear warheads reduced the construction facilities to radioactive debris. Captain Reed's squadron eliminated every defense platform, opening the planet to assault. Major Bennett's Marines captured the Kresh High Command facility. They took the Kresh Supreme Commander, a towering warrior named Kratok, alive along with his entire staff. Sullivan wanted them alive for what came next. Sullivan broadcast a message across all Kresh communication networks. His words reached every Kresh world, every ship, every outpost. He showed images of the burning Vallani world, of families torn apart, of children crying in camps. Then he showed images of the destroyed Kresh fleets and their burning shipyards. "I am Admiral Jake Sullivan of Earth," he said. "You are the Kresh Dominion. You conquer worlds. You enslave species. You show no mercy to the weak. Today you learned what it means to face the strong. Every species you have conquered will be freed. Every world you occupy will be liberated. Your empire of cruelty ends now. You have 30 days to withdraw from all conquered territories and release all slaves. After that, any Kresh military vessel found beyond your borders will be destroyed without warning. This is your only chance. Take it." The Kresh, shocked by their defeat, complied. Within 30 days they withdrew from every occupied world. Species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly found themselves free. The Kresh Supreme Commander was tried for war crimes by a coalition of freed species and sentenced to life imprisonment. Earth established the Sentinel Initiative, a permanent fleet dedicated to protecting innocent species. The Vallani joined as the first member of what became the Coalition of Free Worlds. Commander Sullivan refused a comfortable position on Earth. He remained in space, commanding the Sentinel fleet. When asked why he wouldn't return home, his answer was simple. Someone has to stand watch. Someone has to answer the call. On the Vallani homeworld, now rebuilding under its own government, Premier Sorrel erected a monument in the capital. It showed a human starship breaking through storm clouds. The inscription read in both Vallani and English. When darkness came, they answered. Humanity, the species that refuses to let evil win.